Hello everyone, welcome my channel. Today I come to you with a collective card reading and that's a pick a card reading for your current spiritual journey, spiritual evolution. So if you're interested in that, then tune in. And we have today four groups, and in a moment you're gonna see on a screen a photo of all the groups available, and you can go ahead and pick the pile that you're most drawn to. If you don't know how to approach this, you can close your eyes and ask yourself, what do I need to know right now at this moment? And then when you open your eyes, the first pile you land your eyes on is gonna be the pile for you. After that, you can go right down to the description or in the comments down below, and that's where all the timestamps are gonna be. All right, let's get right into it. Welcome group number one. Here are your cards, and after that, we're gonna move on to your intuitive messages. So, first of all, we have gathering around and caterpillar. Okay, so group number one, that means for me that this is the time for you to get out of your cocoon, okay? Because I feel like you've been marinating for a bit of a time right now, and you've been, in that energy of like being a bit in the back rooms and, thinking through stuff, getting preparations ready for whatever it is. It can be, literally, metaphorically. But either way, it's been a while and it's time for you to get out, get out there in the world, get out there to people, get out there to catch on to your opportunities. This is the time for that. This is not the time to sit around in the back and so on and so on. So that is also more so about your life as well, and about your like passiveness towards life, people, opportunities, and this is the time to change that. Next up, we have Ace of Cups and the Moon. So, the moon is all about changing your perspective on things, and it's about seeing many sides of things. And in this context of your current spiritual path, I think it's all about opening yourself up for the fact that there were always opportunities around you and there always will be. It's just about you opening up for them and seeing them. I feel like some of you in this reading might have this mindset of, waiting for the good timing or waiting for the perfect circumstance, but that's not the case. You make the moment perfect. You make things, the timing to be good, because there will never be a good timing, and it's about seeing that. And more than that, I feel like some of you maybe might have been a bit stagnant, either with your beliefs or with your perspective on things. And I feel like it's time to get out of that mindset, and it's time to start a bit of movement. Like, I feel like there's a lot of energy that has been stagnant for you, group number one, for a very long time now. And I feel like it's the time you decide to snap out of it, like you decide that it's time to move forward. There will never be a time where you will wake up one day and be like, okay, it's time to go. The sun is shining and everything is perfect. There will not be a time like that, and you have to decide that this is that time. Other than that, it's also seeing that for some of you, I think it's about realizing that things are not always the way you make them out to be or the way you perceive them. So I would say, especially for your spiritual evolvement at the moment, I would recommend that you will really review your current beliefs and your current perspective on yourself, the world, life itself, and maybe even specific areas in your life, because I feel like you're a bit stuck up there, and it's time you realize that things have many, many ways of being, let's say. I guess what I'm trying to say is that word is not black and white, and things are not black and white, and it's about realizing that nothing is inherently negative or positive, and it's just up to interpretation. And I feel like that's the time for you to start thinking in that way. because I feel like it will really help you open up on those opportunities that you are perhaps closing yourself up from, or maybe even sabotaging in that way. So remember that nothing is black and white. And we have Ace of Cups, which again talks to me about being open for you and about being in that core of who you are and what is your, let's say, meaning or purpose or passion or just general drive, and it also has to do with emotions. So I feel like getting into a place where you feel really emotionally refreshed will also really help you bring more movement into your life, because I feel like one of the biggest reasons why you feel a bit stagnant is feelings and emotions you might be having at the moment. So, really reviewing those emotions and getting to the core of them and letting yourself, let's say, break free from some of those feelings and beliefs can bring that desired movement into your life that you need right now. Because I feel like you really need that movement in your life, the movement of energy, of feelings, of perceptions. Next of all, we have a card that is supposed to tell you the honest truth. So that truth is King of Wands, and who is a King of Wands? King of Wands is action. It's action. It's drive. So group number one, I feel like for you, it's all about getting started, getting into your action mode. Because as I said, I feel like there was a lot of comfort zone in your life lately. It's been a lot of stagnancy, a lot of sitting in that cocoon. And the thing about cocoon is that it's about preparation for that big metamorphosis. So I feel like you had enough of preparations. You had enough of getting ready for it. You had enough of learning experience and experience in general in order to be able to come out of it right now and start living. Because that's also what this is about. It's about you starting to live, starting to do the things you want to do. It's about you finding again that drive for action and movement and literal or metaphorical movement in your life, so you can start doing the things you wanted to do. Now, this card is about your current energy in life. What is the phase in life you are? And this is we are nature. Let me show you that card, since it's really pretty, but I don't think my camera will focus on it, but you get it. Okay, so it says becoming grounded, embodiment, living in connection. um so I feel like most importantly you are in this phase right now of getting grounded, but getting grounded in reality, getting grounded in action, in perhaps a routine, perhaps I feel like a routine might help some of you get back into that drive. Group number one. Second of all, embodiment. Group number one, I feel like you have to ask yourself, what is it you want to be? What is it you want to do? What is it you want to feel about yourself? Because the other thing about stagnancy, group number one, I feel, is that some of you feel like you don't have a control over what you feel, think, believe, how you act, and so on. And I feel like it's all about realizing that you can embody whoever you want. I feel like some of you might have been stagnant in that idea of oh, I feel that way, or I am that way, or I think that way, and how do I change that? But I don't feel like it's time for that anymore. I think now it's the time you break out of it and start asking yourself, okay, you're this and that, but who do you want to be? Who is that person you want to embody right now? And living in connection, I feel like mostly addresses the fact that you want to live in connection with yourself. Group number one, I feel like that's like the thing you were trying to aim this whole time. by kind of being more passive towards life, is just trying to gain connection to yourself. And I feel like finding that drive and getting past those emotions is not about finding an answer in external world, but rather finding that connection you have within yourself that is gonna give you all the answers you need and all the peace and all the, everything. Because world is in many ways uncertain, and it's easy to get lost in it, and it's easy to, feel a bit alienated and feel like things are really uncertain. But you have yourself, and that is certain. And if you know yourself, that is your safe zone. And I feel like out of everything, you should be your own grounding spot, as in, you should be your own source of gravity in this entire world. Because I feel like it's easy to become chaotic and become out of balance if we codepend our being and how we feel and how we think on external world. But the moment you start putting that onto yourself, and every time something brings you out of balance, you go to yourself and you find that gravity in yourself, it's gonna be really easy for you to become grounded and stay grounded. um, Another thing about grounding is that there is this quote in my head that comes now, which is like, being grounded gives you more freedom, not less. So maybe you just needed to hear that being in that grounded space, maybe having a routine, maybe being more disciplined, it will give you more personal freedom rather than living in house. Because I feel like group number one, you need currently a more individual approach towards yourself, an approach that is gonna make you shine, because your symbol, group number one, is a star. It's about shining, it's about getting out there and showing the world what you are, what you have in store, and your true value. But you cannot do that if you don't let yourself shine. If you don't decide, hey, I'm worth it, and I have that thing, and it's worth showing. So I feel like keeping all that potential inside of yourself, um, is at the end of the day not gonna bring you anything. I feel like also with gathering around and we are nature, it's all about us connection to the external world. Because I feel like for some of you especially, maybe it has been really hard in the recent past to connect to the external world. Maybe you felt a bit alienated, maybe you felt a bit, even I would say, endangered. Maybe you felt like you're not understood, or you don't fit in exactly, or that you cannot put yourself or your vision into this world. But I feel like it's all about, in this case, about manifestation, and realizing that it's gonna be really hard for you if you're gonna be approaching the world with that mindset. Because if you live with that disconnection between yourself and the external world, it's gonna be really hard for you to manifest what you want and focus on things you want to create in the world. Because how are you supposed to do that? And belief and spirituality, it's all about understanding the power of that and the power of your will. So it's about understanding that you have to decide what kind of mindset benefits you and which one doesn't. And maybe that mindset of being disconnected from the world and, you know, feeling like, you don't fit in, or your vision doesn't fit into this world, it's not exactly gonna help you with anything in your life. And maybe it's time you start looking for a connection you have with the external world and with people, that brings that vision together, rather than focusing on that negative aspect of separateness and how you cannot attain what you want in this world, because that's just simply not the case. And I think like that relates a lot to that perspective you have onto things. which is related to black and white thinking. Um, and again, I feel like in your spiritual journey, focusing on exploring different perspectives is really important because this card, the moon, it focuses all about how moon has different phases, and just because we see it lit up in a certain way doesn't mean it's not changing, or it doesn't have different phases, or it doesn't isn't lit up by different light creating different shapes at any over a given moment. So I would say validate your perspective, validate that what you see is real, is valid, but realize that there's so much other perspectives, and it's about which perspective do you choose to live. Because if it's something negative, is it really something you want to choose to live in? If there's so much other perspectives you can choose from, if you can choose that things are positive, or if not positive and at least neutral, start from that. And remember that the key to your spiritual journey currently is your emotions, is your drive, is your passion. So go to the bottom of that, go to the bottom of your feelings, and second of all, connection to yourself, because I feel like that's the whole point as well. Finding that connection within yourself, connecting to your core of who you are, of that thing that never changes, especially if you're having issues with deciding in what direction to go for, or what you should do, or how you should do something, or how to express yourself. Remember that with being yourself, you can never go wrong. So just choose to be yourself, choose to be authentic, choose to speak your truth and how you actually feel. Because remember, apologizing for how you feel is like apologizing for being real. Okay? So remember that. You can never go wrong with authenticity. Okay, now that we finished with reading, I would like to read you your intuitive messages that I've written down for you. And it's compulsory. So some of you, I think, might have an issue with compulsions. You might have an issue with reoccurring patterns, things you do out of habit, autonomously. You might have certain that might be related to addictions, that might be related to doing things that not do not exactly benefit you, and that again can have to do with those perspectives on things, or maybe negative thinking and so on. But either way, group number one, really look out on the things you do autonomously and the things you do out of habit or addiction that do not benefit you. Just think about all the things you do and if they benefit you. Okay, because if you keep doing something and it doesn't benefit you, it doesn't take you nowhere, because your future is literally just your habits. What you do daily reflects on your future. So have it in mind and really look out for the things you do compulsory. Next of all, mindfulness. Once again, focus on your mind, focus on your thoughts, focus on your perception on the world, on yourself, and so on. Movement. Really make sure that you're letting the energy move in your life. Do not get stuck up. Do not be passive. Do not stay in the back rooms. Do not just be in the back and observe things. Just don't let things be the same, because I feel like it might be really easy for you to let things just run on their own, and kind of dictate your life. But I don't think this is time for that. This is not the time of let's just go with the flow and do the same thing of every day over and over again. This is about changing things. It's about, if anything, it's about trying every day something new. It's about making new habits and trying something new and exciting, doing something that scares you, putting stuff into work, into movement. So make sure the energy is moving all the time. Make sure that there's always change in something, no matter what it is, because I feel like this is a matter of a snowball effect. So the more changes there's gonna be, the more it's gonna inspire more and more and more change and movement. So that can also be literally. Maybe you need to start moving more, going out, going on walks, getting that energy moving in your life, maybe meeting up with friends, and so on and so on. Next is rationality. So I feel like that one is a really important one. And rationality is all about having a clear mind in your case. It's about not turning your own beliefs into your way of thinking, because that's not clear thinking. That's just beliefs and emotions and other stuff getting in your way. So remember to be rational about things. For example, when you want to do something, thinking, maybe it's not good enough, maybe I'm not good enough, it's not rational, it's just doubts, it's just fears coming in the way of your thinking. So ask yourself, are your thoughts rational? Second of all, technique. That might apply to some of you, especially if you have certain projects or certain things you work on. Have techniques, figure out your techniques, and generally, if that tells you something, then if that word resonates with you in some way, that's a sign for you. Next one is tune into yourself again, finding the connection with yourself, finding the root. Turning point. That one was a really interesting one. When I got it, I was like, you want a turning point, you want something to change, but that change has to come from you. So if you're waiting for a turning point, it's not gonna come. You have to make it. Make your own turning point, make your own metamorphosis. And you can do that easily just by getting out of your comfort zone. Expand your bubble and allow more things in, because that is what truly gives you freedom. That is what truly gives you opportunities. Opportunities are always there. You just have to get out of your comfort zone and go and grab them. Make use of what you have. Again, don't wait for things to come in. Don't wait. That's the main point. Don't wait. Just take what you have, grab it, and start doing something, because what matters is just starting to do something to begin with. Take lead again. Start doing something. Make space for new things. Okay, so that's about letting go of all the things that don't serve you, all the things maybe from the past, getting rid of beliefs, resentments, um, emotions that hold you back, fears that hold you back. Think about it, write it down, get rid of it, move past it. Trajectory. So that one was an interesting one that kept popping up a lot in my head, which is like finding your path, your course, your current course, because I feel like it's gonna be way easier for you if you just set yourself a goal and just not think about it and just go there. I feel like that's the most important thing right now for you. If you know where you're going, you can just turn that compulsory into autonomously doing things. Just go into that goal. Just don't think about it, don't doubt it. Just your goal, then just go and do it. Doesn't matter how exactly. You can have a technique, but other than that, don't doubt it, and so on and so on. Just have your path, know your course, know where you're going, and it's gonna make your life way easier, and making routines around it. Space for thought, okay? Because I feel like that's related to compulsory. It's about thinking twice. So I would say give yourself space to think twice about things, to think things through, to reflect on things, to reflect, for example, when you're having a thought or a belief, give yourself space to think twice about it and be like, is it true? Is it just a perception? Is it just a perspective I have? Is it just a belief? Does it come from emotion? Is it rational? And so on and so on. So, group number one, that is all I have for you. I hope this brought you some clarity, and I hope to see you next time. We're gonna move into the next pile. Have an amazing day. Hello, group number two. This is your reading for your current spiritual evolution. So let's get started. Spirit of a river, movement toward adventure. Okay, that's really interesting. So I feel like group number two, this your current spiritual journey is all about just going with the flow, going with what comes, and trying something new, something unusual perhaps for you, something that maybe you didn't exactly do before or didn't thought about doing, and it might feel really new for you, or maybe even really out of your comfort zone. But either way, I feel like it's time for you to jump in and start going towards that movement that is really needed. Second of all, we have Two of Swords and Animal of Swords. Really raw cards here about that. I feel like this is all about, for some of you, it might be related to trauma or something from the past that maybe hurted you. Some of you might currently be dealing with a lot of self destructive behaviors. Maybe you have a lot of anger, maybe a lot of fear, but either way, it's time to face it, because I feel like all this time you've been kind of like running away from it, running away from all that anger and fear, and maybe even for some of you, I feel like it has to do with your self esteem for some of you. But either way, it's time to stop running from it and just jump into it, okay? Because you're gonna be haunted by it if you're not gonna do it. You cannot be a coward anymore. You have to face that big scary thing that you've been so uncomfortable with. Um, I feel like there's something currently that you're going through within yourself, perhaps, or in the outside world that triggers a lot of anger in you, or a lot of like survival or ego mechanisms where you feel like you have to defend yourself from something or from yourself. um and perhaps maybe there is another situation or person that is triggering that. It might also be related to some regret you have from perhaps past, or something you did, or the way you are, or the way you were. Either way, that seems like there's a lot of information, so it might probably be different for every person out here. So let's just move on, and if there's anything else I get from it, I will try to say it. So next of all, we have the World. Really beautiful card, and this card talks all about like the honest thing you need to know right now. And that honest thing, as simple as it is, it might be really uncomfortable for you at the moment, because it's about being at peace with yourself. And for some of you, it might come really hard. It's about feeling completed within yourself, it's about feeling at peace with yourself, it's about finding yourself. So I feel like a lot of you already know where this is going, and a lot of you already feel what I might be inclining, which might be really personal for you. But either way, it is all about finding yourself and being at peace with yourself and who you are, most importantly. Because I feel like some of you might not fully be okay with who you are. And also, for some of you, it might not be so obvious. Maybe it's something you have deep inside of yourself. Maybe it's something that comes up only in certain situations. Maybe it's something that isn't apparent on the first glance for you. Right? So it's something that you have to come to terms with and be okay with how uncomfortable it is. Now, your current phase in your spiritual evolution is this card of plant yourself here, integration, embodiment, grounded action. Okay, I feel like that grounded action is really coming across here, especially with all those survival mode, ego, anger cards, where there's a lot of like chaos and emotion engaged into the situation. So it's all about, especially if you're going through that right now, if you feel like, you're a bit chaotic, if you're a bit out of place, then you really need to take a moment and ask yourself if what you're doing is grounded right now, okay? Because I feel like before you do anything right now, you really have to stay grounded, and you have to be grounded not only in your actions but also in your thoughts, also in your thoughts. And it's about integrating those, uncomfortable parts of yourself, the parts you resent or resist, and it's also about compassion, group number two. It's about um compassion for yourself and others. And I mean, it can be really hard. It can be really hard in both cases. Um, and I just want you to know that it is completely valid, but it can be that hard for you. It is completely valid of how you feel about yourself, of others. The anger is valid, the emotion is valid, but it is something that is gonna simply haunt you and bring you down in the future. Depending on the intensity or what triggers it. So it's something you will have to deal with sooner or later. So you have to think about that compassion, because that compassion is going to help you move forward, forgiving yourself and forgiving others. And forgiving others doesn't mean that what they did was right, or that you're okay with what they did, but and vice versa what you did. But it's just about forgiving for yourself and for your peace of mind, and it's about releasing that stored emotion in you. And perhaps also shame. I feel like the shame is the core for many of you. You might deal with a lot of shame about your actions, about your feelings. For many of you, I feel like many of you might be really uncomfortable with your feelings and ashamed of them, and that also makes you resent yourself a lot, and it creates a lot of emotional buildup in you. So if that's something you're dealing with, especially with like buildup of anger, shame, sadness, it is probably the core of why you're experiencing that. It's because the resentment creates a lot of buildup. The fact that you don't let yourself feel it, that you don't accept those feelings, and then later it's easy to create that buildup and let it explode in sometimes even random situation where that was unnecessary or inappropriate, right? So make sure that you're integrating those parts of yourself, that you're accepting them, that you're accepting the feelings you're experiencing. A very important thing to have in mind that might help you is anytime you feel especially angry or sad or shameful, or perhaps out of self hatred for some of you, I would like you to distance yourself from the situation that makes you feel that, and ask yourself, where does that feeling come from? Where in the past that feeling appeared that you haven't dealt with? What situation was that? Where is it that you felt unfair or ashamed or angry, that that feeling wasn't validated, perhaps by your parents, by yourself, by others? And that is really gonna help you heal that. So in that case, I feel like going for that adventure and the Spirit of River talks about going with a feeling. So every time you have a feeling, accept it, think about it, and let it in. And I know it might be really uncomfortable for some of you. It might really be uncomfortable to think and reflect on those feelings, on where they come from, why you feel the way you do. But it is absolutely necessary for you to find that completeness back on with yourself. So it is, of course, your choice, but I would really recommend you to start looking on that. It's not always pretty or easy, but ultimately it's gonna help you and it's gonna make your relationship with yourself better. And I also wanted to say that this kind of emotional journey is usually a very long path. So be patient with yourself, be patient with your feelings, and just explore. Just, as I said, go on an adventure with it, try something new. Okay? So I as well have channeled some intuitive messages for you, group number two. And look at this, your sign is a cute little flower. When I was actually channeling those messages, I felt a lot of beautiful energy for you, group number two. There was a lot of beauty, kindness, and all sorts of things like that that really made me feel like you have a big potential for seeing and being those things. But let me read you what I got. First of all, know what matters. Okay, so it's about having priorities. It's about seeing what really matters in a situation or in life or in yourself in that sense. So however that applies to you, take it however you want. Okay, and however it resonates. Next of all, we have discipline, being disciplined, and in that sense it might have to do with being disciplined about your feelings and emotions and your reactions and behaviors in certain situations. We have conservation, which I think is a really important one because it talks about, I feel like for you it's about like conserving your energy because emotions are energy. So for you it's all about not letting those emotions run wild and not letting them run wild whenever there is a build-up or wherever there's something triggering them, especially if you're the type of person who tends to get angry a lot, or sad a lot. That is a really big drainage in life, especially if you're getting angry on daily basis or 2 3 times daily. I mean, that is taking so much of your energy, doesn't it? So I feel like group number two, if you tend to feel tired or drained a lot, maybe start thinking about how your feelings contribute to that, or how past contributes to that, or how your self-esteem contributes to that, or all that sorts of things. So really focus on what matters, first of all, and second of all, focus on conserving yourself, on preserving yourself, preserving your energy, preserving your emotion. Become more passive with it. Don't let it just run wild whenever, because it can cause you a lot of drainage. Now, seeing beauty and slash you are it. I felt like a lot of you, group number two, you have a capability for seeing a lot of beauty or kindness in the world. But, if you do, that also means that you are that kindness and beauty, that you have a lot of it in yourself, because if you wouldn't have it in yourself, you wouldn't be able to see it in the world, right? So that means that there's something within you that has a lot of it, that you are that beauty and kindness. I also felt like there was a lot of like heart and connection, focus in you. So I feel like a lot of you, group number two, are right now on the path of unblocking your heart chakra and that connection you have with yourself and people and the world, and I feel like you have a big capability and potential for doing that and being in tune with everything, and being kind and being in kindness and being in beauty and seeing beauty in the world, that is all something you can see you are capable of if you let it, because it's all about letting it in. It's all about opening up for that. And it would be a great decision for you, group number two, I feel like. So think this through, think about it. I feel like it would be a very, very great decision for your spiritual involvement and, you know, getting better and feeling more things and seeing more things about yourself. So I would really recommend thinking about that. Now, the next one is kindness goes a long way. Being kind goes a long way, and it's not only to others, but most importantly to yourself. Because I feel like group number two, the moment you start being kind to yourself, that's gonna have so much positive results coming with it. Just try for one day being kind to yourself. Just make a decision to just be kind to yourself, to see how it feels, to see what kind of changes it would make within you, because um I was actually playing Sims today, and there was this like I was playing with one kid, and they were like exploring confidence, and then they had this moodlet going like, uh, her name was Kaylee, I think. So it's like um, Kaylee has the most important person believing in herself, and I thought like it's so wholesome, like I mean, who's the most important person that has to be kind to you and believe in you? It's yourself. Like there's never gonna be a different person that's opinion, that's belief, that's kindness is gonna matter more to you than your own, right? So, and I mean, you have only yourself, So like if you're gonna spend this whole entire life with yourself, why not just choose to be kind to yourself? Why engage in a constant train of self-hatred and regret and self-judgment if you can just be kind to yourself and be at peace with yourself, you know? Because I feel like it's the disconnection from yourself and that whole negativity you're putting on yourself that in the end creates the most damage, So, it's just, I guess that's something I also learned about in my own journey, which is like, what's the point? What's the point of hating on yourself if you can be your best friend, right? Um, which brings me to the next point of what I gotten intuitively for you, which is if you see your shadows, remember that there's a light casting it, right? Like if there's a shadow, there must be a light that casts it, right? So remember that all the like bad things you see, about either yourself or the world around you or people around you, remember that there's a light behind it. That if there is darkness, there is also light. Even if you see all the wrong things about yourself, there's also so much beautiful things behind that shadow that you didn't maybe even took time to really see, really realize, really notice, so remember that, like write it down and put it on your wallpaper or on your board or stick somewhere, just so you see it all the time, just remember that you are as bad as you're good, like if that makes sense, but the last one is self-acceptance and self-responsibility, you know like you are responsible for what kind of person you are responsible for how you feel internally, you are responsible for your life, you are responsible for your development, for of fixing things, and being better. And if you're happy, most importantly, you're responsible of it for it. So if you don't feel at peace with yourself, that is your responsibility, that is your thing. And that comes a lot with self-acceptance. I feel like you cannot do any work on yourself if you don't accept yourself first. You cannot work with your emotions if you don't accept them first. You cannot be like, feeling anger and resent it and push it back and then try to work on it. That doesn't work that way. So if you want to work with anything, if you want to work on yourself or your feelings, first accept it. Accept how it is. Accept whatever it is. Like, for example, when you're angry and people tell you, oh, you're so angry, why are you so mad? Then don't say, I'm not mad, I'm not angry. Like, just accept that you're angry. It's not wrong to feel things. Sometimes it's wrong how we express them, but ultimately, if you're having certain reactions or certain relationship with yourself, they come from somewhere and you have to reflect on that. And in order to do that, you have to accept that there is something to be fixed, but it exists. Okay, group number one, that's all I have for you. I hope it brought you some clarity. And yeah, I hope to see you in my next video. I'll move on to group number three. Bye bye. Hello, group number three. Let's see what is the message about your current spiritual evolution. So we have Fortune's Wheel and Fool's Embrace. All right, here you go. That tells me a lot about, how you're in a certain position right now spiritually, where you have like a lot of resources to be able to deal with your pain. Like, for example, maybe it can be personal to every one of you, but maybe you're in a very peaceful, silent phase of your life, where you have a lot of time to work on yourself, to heal from certain things. Or maybe, quite on the contrary, maybe you're in a situation where there's a lot of things currently triggering you, and situations that affect you in a certain way, and trigger your feelings and pain and traumas from the past. Depending on everyone, it might be a different situation, but either way, now it's like you're in a perfect phase where you're able to deal with your pain or traumas from the past. And so basically, whatever is coming up right now, whatever is, for example, like wandering in your thoughts lately, like maybe some past, maybe some pain, maybe some trauma, like all those things that are coming across lately, is because this is the perfect time for you to start working on that. And it's up to you if you answer that call or you don't. So will you work on that pain, or will you not work on it? Or will you just, let the time pass and just, keep ignoring it, Because this time is all about taking that pain and starting to heal it, starting to transmute it. Maybe it's time for you to take that pain and put it into action in a way that, maybe that pain used to make you feel depressed. Maybe those traumas used to make you feel depressed. But maybe now is the time to take that pain and make it into your personal power. Because there's interesting things I read lately, which is like, motivation is temporary, but discipline is like long term. But like, for many people, that discipline can come from pain. So maybe it's time you take that pain and you say, hey, I did it, I went through this, I'm stronger now, I can do it, I have power in that pain, I own that pain. Or will you keep letting that pain put you down and owning you instead? Because I feel like that's the thing with transmuting pain. It's about realizing that pain doesn't own you, but you own that pain. And no one will ever understand what you went through, but you do. And you own that experience. And you survived it. And if you can do that, you can do much more than that. And you have experiences that many people or most people will never have. Moving on, we have Two of Jewels and the Animal of Jewels, which is Pentacles, by the way. But either way, that is such a beautiful card, by the way. But either way, again, it's about experience. It's about experience, as we talked about that pain, you know? The pain transmutation, I feel like it's about, especially for you right now, it's about taking those experiences that you had, those painful things, those traumatic things, and it's about integrating them in yourself and realizing that that's a part of what you went through, that's a part of who you are right now, not in a negative way but in a positive way, you know, because I feel like some of you haven't yet integrated that part of yourself. You don't drive power from it yet. It still owns you in a way. That pain, that past, that trauma, whatever it is, it owns you, you know. And I feel like it's gonna have to take you to look at those experiences and ask yourself, what have I learned from it? To truly break out of it, you know? And I know it might come a bit hard for some of you, especially if it has been a very bitter experience. You might be like, you know, or like, what do you mean? What have I learned from it? Like, that was a messed up situation, or, you know, like I didn't deserve it, or this person hurted me, or this or that. But it's not about that, you know? Like, it's about looking at it and asking yourself, okay, but what have I gained from it? You know, it doesn't matter. The situation doesn't matter. The person doesn't matter. The whatever doesn't matter. It's about how can you benefit from that experience? How can you make it not own you, but how can you own it? How can you make it into something? How can you transmute that experience into something positive, into something meaningful for yourself, you know? It doesn't, I guess a lot of people in spirituality tend to like turn things around and be like, oh, you know, but everything that happens to you happens for a reason. It has a purpose in your life. I guess I'm not exactly the fan of that, because, you know, we don't deserve or trauma, you know, and like there's no reason why would we go through trauma, or why would we hurt in life, or why others would hurt us. So I guess in that sense it's not fair to think about it that way, because why would you deserve that pain? Why would you deserve that trauma? Why would you deserve for your parents to not love you or treat you badly, or your partners, or, you know, why would something bad happen for you in your life for a purpose of a kind? I don't exactly believe in that, but what I believe in is about how everything has a certain meaning, and that meaning depends on your interpretation. So yeah, cool, you hurted through stuff, you went through stuff, it hurts, there's a lot of pain, but now that you went through it, it's time to change the perspective on this, and find a different meaning in it, because that's the only way in which you'll be able to move on from that pain and all these grasps, you know? So you have to start asking yourself, what have I learned from it? How can you benefit from that experience? How did that experience teach you something that made you be a better person? Because that's when those experiences can come in handy for us, because no one else was through something like that. No one else, most people will never have the exact same experience like you did. That experience is for you only, you know? So how can you benefit from that? What did you learn from that? What can it teach you about yourself? How can you be stronger because of that experience? um how can you drive power from it? That's about that. I took a lot of time to explain it because I feel like it might be really important for to some of you what you're going through. um we have another card, which is Eight of Cups. And Eight of Cups is really interesting in this context, group number 3, because it talks about leaving the things that do not serve us anymore, you know? And that has to do with living is also the emotions that don't serve us anymore. And group number three, I feel like you have a lot of feelings and pains and things from the past, perhaps traumas, stuff like that, that, you know, they don't serve you anymore because you went through them so much times. You like thought about it, reflected on that, have been putting petty on yourself, being like, what's the word, pitiful to yourself, like, but like there's a limit to how many times can you do that. Maybe you've put yourself down over it, maybe you've put down others because of it, maybe you've been in a cycle of suffering and pain because of that, over and over and over again. But like, when will you learn, when will you let go of that? Because again, it's about the pain owning you, the trauma, the past owning you, and that is the time where you have to say, okay, that has been enough. That has been enough of holding on. That has been enough of, suffering. It has been enough of repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And it's about saying that, I am not a victim, I am a survivor, you know to get out of that mindset, because I feel like many of you are suffering mainly because you're putting yourself in a role of a victim in your life, and you're, being constantly in that cycle of life is happening to me and things are happening to me and I have no control over them, and I'm a victim and I cannot do anything about it. The past owns me, and it's time to stop. It's time to simply stop, group number three. It's time to let go of things that doesn't serve you anymore, because the truth is that those feelings don't belong anymore to you in your life. This is something that you have to purge. This is something you have to let go of. This is something you have to once and for all grieve and decide that it doesn't have any more benefit for you or your life. Okay, so now there is a card for your current phase in life, and that is open. Okay? Say yes, expand through extremes, trust life. That is what you need to do right now. You have to let go of all the baggage that's holding you back, that limiting you, that role of a hurt, victimized person, that was emotions that keep you suffering. It is about letting go of it and saying, yes, I'm living, I am alive, and I create life, and I own pain, and I am creating a new life out of it. I am reborn. Okay? So that's what I feel must happen right now. Okay, and lastly, we have this animal of jewels, which talks about having to do hard things sometimes. So sometimes, like, for example, when we are a child, our parents are responsible for us. Our parents are responsible for making us feel loved and cared for and taking care of our needs, especially, right? But, you know, you are an adult right now, and what comes with that is that other people are not responsible for you anymore. And I don't say it in, a negative way or a judgy way, but more so in a loving way, where you have to be now the person who takes care of you. You have to be now the person who takes care of your needs. So we cannot right now like sit in a corner and cry about something that happened to us for like eternity, because there's life to be lived, and we are the one who have to give ourselves the happiness right now, who have to give ourselves attention and healing, like, and even if that means, of course, reaching out to a professional, that's also counts as that. But either way, you are responsible for yourself right now. You are responsible for feeling better. You are responsible of your own life, on how fully you live your life, for your happiness, and so on and so on and so on. And that will require you sometimes to, snap out of it, and tell yourself, hey, it's been enough, and it's time I heal this, and I take my power back, and I start living a life, most importantly, you deserve, because you've been through so much Why wouldn't you deserve a break? Why wouldn't you deserve to start living your life? Why wouldn't you deserve to start living your life for yourself, most importantly? But just remember, you are an adult. You have to be your own parent right now. You have to, um, go out there and, start doing things that might be hard, like healing yourself. So you are happy because no one else at this point will do it for you, right? Group number three, let's move on to your intuitive message that I drawn for you. And your symbol was triangle. So I guess it's about connectiveness in a way, completion also. Okay, so let's start. Passion and compassion. That's the first thing that came across for you. And it's about, yeah, having that compassion to yourself, but as well for others. I feel like it's about forgiveness, but that forgiveness is not for other people, but not as much as it is for yourself, because you don't forgive other people for them. That does not make their actions okay. That means you're forgiving others and letting go of situations for your own peace of mind. So having that compassion and passion for yourself, for your own life, and focusing on yourself and your own present life is what is truly gonna make you break free from whatever it is you're suffering through. Focus on yourself, focus on your life, focus on living your life fully, most importantly. Second of all, um, group number three, I have to tell you, what I've gotten a lot from your group while channeling is that you are very lately self-isolated, passive people. There's sort of isolation, trust issues. You're the kind of people who are a bit pulled back lately. And with people you're a bit more pushed back a bit. That's one thing I wanted to address, what I got from this group. Okay, we have spirituality. So maybe group number three, you have to like approach things from more spiritual point of view, because I think it's easy sometimes when you to get entangled in a human way of seeing things, meaning you're too much in your head, overthink, take things to humanly, and it's really hard to then later distance yourself from what's going on either outside or inside of yourself. So I would say approaching things a bit more spiritually, might help you. Maybe having some spiritual practices um, might be helpful for you. Okay, we have making sense of things. I feel like many of you might have certain situations or certain specific topics on your mind right now. And it's really important if you make sense of them and not make sense in a way, especially when it comes to like hurtful things from the past or people that hurted you. It is not in a way of, okay, that person hurted me, they are XYZ, this kind of bad person, but more so in a way of seeing the situation clearly and what you can get out of it, what you can learn from it, and so on and so on. More in a rational way of thinking. This happened, that happened, seeing your input into things, but basically making a more sensible, objective perspective on things, that will make you be less emotional about it, wherever objective, distant. I guess that's what I mean. Get a bit more distant from the situation. Get some distance to yourself. Don't think about it. Don't take it so personally anymore if you want to heal it. We have trees. For some reason I got trees strongly, so maybe that's something that resonates with you. Maybe you could go to nature and spend some time with trees. Maybe anything that resonates with you, but I feel like trees are very symbolic here. I feel like there's a lot we can learn from trees. They are amazing. um yeah, I feel like they are a very important symbol. Maybe you can look into it. Second of all, we have keeping a balance. Okay, keeping a balance, I think it's really important, especially that I feel like for some of you, group number three, it was hard for you to keep up a balance lately, maybe emotional balance, especially for some of you. I feel like there is this constant pattern of being normal, and going down into a breakdown, leveling up into normality, and then breakdown again, you know. So it might feel like it's a never ending cycle of suffering and being stuck in past and being stuck in um negative circumstances, but the ones that come a lot from your own self-victimization or sabotage. Next we have oh, so actually it was a one sentence, keeping a balance between independence and codependence. I feel like that's one is really important. It makes a lot of sense as a whole sentence. So I feel like that one's a really important one for you, group number three, because as I said, there is like this double persona in you right now where one of them is like still very codependent on people from the past, what happened, maybe feelings for people from the past, negative, positive, whatever. And then is this other persona of you that is like, trust issues, distancing from people, being more passive, you know um and I feel like that's like very imbalanced, like inside you're like really caring, but like outside you're like, you know keeping your distance, and I don't care, like can I even trust you? But then, so I feel like it's all about keeping that balance, like not being too independent, because we are humans, we are social creatures, we need other people, we need love, we need support, we need other people around us. I don't care what you tell me, that's just how we are, uh, trying to play a role of a lonesome person mm, usually doesn't do any good, especially after some period of time. It can lead to mental issues, yada yada. So just remember that too much independence is just not as good as too much codependence. And once again, figure out your codependence. Why are you so attached to that pain, to those people, to situations? Why is that codependence there? Why does it block you from feeling your own personal way? Um, and so on and so on. I guess it's for you to figure out. We have art. So art might really help you express things or let go of certain things, be it making art, or perceiving it, music, arts, illustrations, be it whatever, just express it, or listen to some music that will help you bring those emotions up and like reflect on them. But either way, arts can be a really great way for you to figure this thing out. We have personality traits, which I think is really important, because that pain that you're feeling, I feel like it might be related to how you have developed yourself as a person. And basing your personality off of pain is never really a good idea, because it's not your authentic self. You're just, it's an ego-based personality trait. For example, being a lone wolf, I feel like that's a really easy trap to fall into, being in that personality of I'm a lone person, because something happened, because someone hurted you, maybe many people hurted you, and you fell into that way of thinking of it's better if I'm alone, it's better if I don't have friends, it's better if I don't have people around me. So make sure that that pain doesn't create artificial personality traits for you, because that's like a thing that will be later on really hard for you to get back to from, if you like base so much of yourself off the pain. For example, being a victim is also like a personality trait you might develop out of that. So it's just something I would really recommend you to get out from as soon as you can, honestly, as soon as you can. So yeah, personality traits is something to really look out for. Ask yourself, what are your latest aspirations of who you want to be, or so on and so on. There's many things we see in social media, many things, that are in our algorithms, blah 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 blah. Make sure that what you're watching doesn't push you into further um what's the word celebrating your trauma, but in a negative way, like contributing to that trauma and those attachments and those negative perceptions on the world, like people are bad, it's always something bad happening to me, I'm a victim, like there's I don't have luck, I always end up hurt, stuff like that, just think about it. Do you have beliefs like that? Do you develop personality traits like that? Because I think like that one is really, really important. Second of all, I mean, I always say second of all, but it's never the second one. Next of all, mysterious impression. Again, I feel like some of you, group number three, are in that phase where you're like, really attracted to the idea of being a lonesome wolf, or being that loner, or trying to play mysterious to people, or having that distance towards the world, or you know um yeah, basically stuff like that, like being really distant, but you know it's most of the most of the time not really who we are, so make sure that you're not just playing an actor as a person, because authenticity always goes a long way. And the more you dig yourself the hole of playing a role based on your trauma, the harder it's gonna later on be for you to get out of that hole that you have digged for yourself. So as much as comfortable it's gonna seem and feel right now, the harder it will be to heal for you later on. So it's just the most genuine advice I can give you, group number three. Don't dig that hole for yourself, just get out of it and start being authentic. Loving is okay, loving is normal, loving is natural, trusting is natural. And the fact that other people have betrayed that or hurted you and so on and so on, it's not your fault. It's not it does not speak for your value or for you know naivety or stuff like that. Like the fact that you trust and you love is a very beautiful thing, and it should never be hidden just because there were people that couldn't appreciate that. And the last one, we have comfort shell, which is exactly what I talk about. It might feel comfortable right now, but in the end of the day, it gives you less freedom rather than more. You're just closing yourself off in a very unauthentic persona, in a very unauthentic to yourself, unnatural person, personality. So that's all I have for you, group number three. I hope it brought you some clarity. I hope that will help you evolve in your spiritual journey currently. And I hope to see you next time. Bye bye. Hello, group number four. So let's see, what about your spiritual evolution journey? So we have Woodwives, which talks about adaptability. So, group number four, your spiritual journey currently is all about being adaptable. It's all about being flexible in who you are, in your perceptions, in your perspectives, in your beliefs, in how you see things. I feel like that is gonna bring you the most expansion at the moment. So make sure you're being very flexible, you're not attached to things, that you're not being stagnant, that you're not, holding on to certain things for too long. Now we have Six of Cups and Death. Okay? So those cards talk about this card talks about expression. It talks about expressing your deepest feelings, your most authentic self, the core. It talks about dancing to the full moon. So it's very symbolic. Also, very beautiful card. I really appreciate this deck. It has like watercolor illustration, and it's by Sergio Topi, for anyone wondering the art. Um, so it's all about like expressing like those deepest, most authentic emotions you have intentionally. I feel like intentionally is a very important word here. So I feel like for you, group number four, by the way, like group number four, I've gotten like the most of a positive energy from you, like the most open energy. So I feel like you're already on that path where you are ready for certain spiritual involvement and you're already like experiencing it. So just make sure that you're tapping into your most authentic self right now and really, really expressing it, just like expressing it out to yourself, to the world, that you're being really raw with who you are and your feelings, because and your exploration and like your passions, everything that's going on, because that is what is gonna really help you evolve right now, just like being super all over the place into everything that interests you, passions you, like being super adaptable and so on and so on. But group number four, we have death, which speaks to me that some of you might still struggle with certain things. So it's time for letting go of past, letting go of things that you do not need. This is a very extreme time for purging in your life, getting rid of people, places, situation, things, beliefs, feelings, yada 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 yada, that don't resonate with you anymore. Just a complete clearance, like clearance, purging, You do not need so many things right now, be it mindset wise or in your external world. Let go of them. Let go of all the beliefs, unnecessary thoughts, unnecessary distractions, unnecessary everything, It's time to move on and kill what doesn't serve you anymore, you know? So let go of that past, let go of those feelings. You can do it by expressing them fully, journal, art, stuff like that. It's about giving yourself as much freedom as it is possible right now at this moment, group number four, you know? So if there is any things feeling still holding on to you, it's basically taking away from you your mobility, your freedom, to be fully here, open. Um, so this card is all about like the most honest thing it can give you, So we have Four of Cups, which is a very powerful card. It talks about missing out on things that are right next to you because you're too much in your head or something, or whatever, attached to emotions, be it whatever, situations, people, blah blah. You're distracted and you're missing out on something very valuable that is just next to you. It's blessing, opportunity, experience, whatever it can be. But remember to basically not miss out on it, don't keep being here like this dude here, don't keep looking into your own thing and thinking and being distracted by past emotions, whatever, because you're missing out on very important gifts in your life right now, on the opportunities for something very expansive, you know so this is a wake up card, like look to the side, like the thing you want, the thing that is a gift, a blessing is right next to you. Why aren't you taking it? Why are you distracted? Why is that overthink so much more important for you, whatever it is that you're distracted by? And this card is all about the phase of your life right now, the sacred union. Okay, really beautiful card, by the way. And it says beloved within inner and outer relationships. So group number 4, I feel like it is all about for you of connection between your inner and outer world. It's about seeing the relationship between yourself and the world around you, and seeing that you are a mirror for the world and vice versa. The world you experience right now is just a mirror for what you're going through inside of yourself. So it's also about cultivating that relationship you have with yourself, because the better relationship you have with yourself, the better relationship you're going to have with the outside world. And that goes beyond just the world. It might also apply directly to your relationships. If you have relationships with people, romantic, platonic, friends, family, yourself. All those relationships reflect on the relationship you have with yourself. If there's any issues you're having in your relationships, but just addressing the issues you have within yourself, or things that require your attention, and so on and so on. So it is the time for you to realize how everything in your life is connected, and through that you can heal and let go of things that do not serve you anymore. It's about seeing what actually matters. Actually, as I feel like for you, group number 4, a lot of things come down right now to relations you have with other people. So anything that happens with other people right now at this time might really show you a lot about yourself. So if there's any situations on daily basis where you are in contact with people, that might show you a lot about yourself. Even the way you talk to people, in shops, yada yada yada, and so on and so on. So that might go even beyond the current present time, but also like if you had any issues in the relationships in the past, then that also reflects on you and maybe on things you have to look within yourself. So that's definitely a very important aspect of your journey. And that aspect might also help you with purging those things that you might not need and exploring your emotions as well. All right, now let's move on group number 4 to the intuitive messages I have channeled for you. And let's see. We have exploration, meditation, reflection. Group number 4, you came across to me like a very open group where it's like the most positive energy out of all of them, the more the most potent energy, like you have the most of you are the closest to reaching that point where there's healing, there's openness, there is some kind of experience. So I would say keep going, keep going, and keep healing. You're close, keep a positive outlook on things. You're good, especially a lot of you, not all of you, but all of you are on a good path right now, towards it. Focus on cultivating your inner relationship with yourself, cultivate on exploring that self-awareness. We have understanding. So I would say understand the world, yourself, the relationships you have with other people. Creative endeavors. As I said, being creative, being open, expressing yourself might help you in many ways. We have past lives. Maybe for some of you, it's an ongoing concept. Past lives might not only address the past lives literally, but maybe even past itself, maybe the person you used to be, and so on and so on. We have spaciousness, which is a very big one I got with you, which is being very spacious. That's why I was saying that it's the time for you to be like all over the place, like your energy to be like expansive, trying many things, expressing a lot. That's really important. We have self-made reality. It's about realizing that you make your reality, and it's about realizing that reality reflects you currently and what you've been manifesting so far. We have molding yourself. I feel like many of you have space right now to choose who you want to be, to set the intention of who you want to be. Remember when I said that this is the card of like intention, ritual as well. So mold yourself, choose your reality, choose who you want to be. This is the time for setting those intentions and setting your manifestations, choosing who you want to be. We have listened to yourself, tuning into yourself, listening to yourself. And that will also help you understand yourself and choose how to move forward. We have intuition, similar to listen to yourself. And we have rules and boundaries, setting boundaries. Maybe for some of you, this dev has to do with setting new boundaries and rules for yourself. or towards other people in your life, you know. Again, relationships, maybe some of you have an issue with setting boundaries with people. That shows a lot about yourself, you know. You have to love yourself enough to set those boundaries. And we have opportunities. Again, make sure that you don't miss out on the opportunities. Make sure that you're not distracted and that you take this chance to express yourself, to expand, to learn something new about yourself, to move forward in a way. Okay? Also, while reading you, I'm feeling a bit of a sting in my heart, a bit of pain, maybe also in my solar plexus. So I feel like some of you might deal with your heart being a bit locked. Maybe there's some pain from the past. Maybe there's pain in certain relationships you go through currently. Also, maybe some insecurity, which might be related to you not being able to set proper boundaries or rules with people. So make sure that that is being addressed if that's the case for you. Okay? All right, that's all I have for you, group number 4. And that's all I have for all the groups. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you in my next video. And I'm really curious of what you think. And the comments always give me a drive to keep recording, especially if I know that it helps someone. So thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.